you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome to Ground Zero Season 2, a show that brings you in-depth discussion ranging from politics, health, finance, sports, and so much more. Ground Zero Season 2.
Hello, the people of Uganda. I welcome you to this edition of UBC Ground Zero on this very beautiful day. I do believe that we are all fine, and for those who are not yet fine, I pray for the Spirit of the Lord, God and Allah to really heal you. We are live and clear on 5 radio stations and also streaming live on YouTube. In case you want to go away from your radio, you can as well remain listening to this program on UBC radio, that is on YouTube, or you just enter UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of the conversation. We are live on 98.0 FM, that is UBC Radio in Kampala, and in case you are in Arua on 97.4 FM, Leader, you can get us on 99.4 FM. That is in all northern parts of this country, and also get us on another radio in eastern Uganda, that is Butebo Radio on 96.9 FM. That is if you're in Mbare. In case you're in Soroti, we are 98.4 FM, and we are also live and clear on another radio station in West Nile in the heart of Arua City, that is on 98.0 FM, and we're also live and clear on another radio station in Kampala, that is Magic 100 FM. That covers all parts of central Uganda. And we're also live and clear on Bondobujo, Voice of Bondobujo, and that covers all the western parts of this country. And we're also streaming live on YouTube. Just enter UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of the conversation. I welcome you, dear listener, and I welcome you to this special discussion of UBC Ground Zero and the topic that we're going to discuss today, looking at the strategies ending gender-based violence for peaceful coexistence. We are asking ourselves, is it very possible for us, the human beings, to live with each other peacefully? Gender-based violence remains one of the most pervasive violations of human rights and is affecting millions of people worldwide, not just in Uganda. It is not just an individual issue. It has proved to be an issue for all of us. And one of its impact, it has had impacts on families, communities, and nations. We're going to take a look into what are the effects, what are the challenges, and how best can we go about it, especially when it comes to taking forms of physical, emotional, sexual, economic abuse. Gender-based violence deeply has undermined the peaceful or the peace and security and the well-being that we're supposed to enjoy together as the people of Uganda. This discussion and for this program and for this topic, we are privileged to have Flavia Chomukama is the Executive Director of AGA. Welcome, Flavia, for the second time on this edition of UBC Ground Zero.
Thank you, Amon. Good morning, listeners. I'm glad to be here to share with you around the same topic of gender-based violence today, especially around HIV and AIDS. I am Flavia Chomkama. I work for Action Group for Health, Human Rights and HIV. Our office is in Kagoma, just after Kawempe. We've lived here since 2003. We do health education, we do community social monitoring and mobilization and accountability. We also do health financing advocacy, or what we call budget advocacy, to ensure that and engage government and other partners that issues of health, HIV and human rights are budgeted for and visible in our district and national programming.
Interesting.
Also global programming. We work with the World Bank, we work with PEPFAR, we work with the Global Fund. I actually sit on the board of the Global Fund Country Coordinating Mechanism in Uganda. I also represent African patients on the International Alliance of Patients Organizations. So people with diseases, we talk about communities, and we want to see how these people with diseases, people in the communities are affected by gender-based violence.
Okay.
I'm glad to be here.
Interesting. We're also glad to have you again, Flavia. We also have a privilege to have Jacqueline Hope, or Wembabazi, is the programs manager coming from Concern for Girl Child, Uganda. Welcome to this edition, Jacqueline. It's a privilege having you here.
Oh, thank you, Amon. Jacqueline Hope Wembabazi is my name. I work for Concern for the Girl Child, where we empower the girl child socially, economically, and politically, setting them free from poverty. And at Concern for the Girl Child, we manage programs like WASH, which is water and sanitation hygiene. We do education, which is our niche. We educate the girl child. Our operation areas are in Nakawa Division in Kampala, Luwero District, Nakasongola, and Nakaseke. We also do child protection, where we front issues like gender-based violence. We sensitize about this in schools, and in our communities, we handle as well economic empowerment through vocational skilling. Very soon, a very magnificent vocational school shall be set up on the land of Luwero District, which we believe will be the leading, Africa's leading vocational learning center. Elsewhere, Jacqueline is a children's church teacher. I support children's church at Namugongo Martyrs Church of Uganda, where I coordinate that ministry.
I get where you got the passion.
I have worked for children way before leaving campus, and since then I have never looked back. I have served with children at Kampala Diocesan Children's Commission, handling some projects with Kampala Diocese. I have also supported compassion-assisted projects. So with children, it is my in thing. And speaking for them, it is my vibe, yes.
You are part of children, and children are part of you.
Exactly. Good morning, viewer. Good morning, listeners.
Interesting. Glad to have you, Wembabazi. And we're also expecting to have a team leader of Nara Legal Missions, that is Godfrey Duki, joining us shortly. But also we are expecting to be joined by Assistant Commissioner of Police Atuhere Morin, who is the Commissioner Judge of Children and Family Protection Department, Uganda Police Force. That is the direction that we're going to take. And if you have observed in Uganda, as many other countries, gender-based violence remains a problem which has affected women, girls, although men and boys are also part of the victims. But according to the African culture, I think the cases that have been reported, men don't report that they are being harassed and beaten, especially at home. And also taking back ourselves to the domestic violence and early child marriage and sexual harassment, trafficking, and other forms of gender-based violence that are varied but are all equally harmful to all of us and all the people in our communities. If you are to see all these acts of violence not only cause immense pain to individuals, but also erode the social fabric of our communities as Africans, as the people of Uganda. And this in most times has led to divisions, fear, insecurity, and sometimes death. We're going to look into that. But allow me start with you, Wimbawas, again, looking at especially how big is this problem when we talk about gender-based violence, how big or small it is. Maybe would be worrying, but when we're managing the issue, especially in this century. Wimbawazi.
Oh, thank you, Amon. Talking about domestic violence in Uganda, it is a vice that has eaten us up in our societies. It is deep-rooted in there, and to some people, they think they can go away with it. It is justified to some people, to some cultures, it is justified. Looking at, I know we shall be having a fund coming on board, but a reflection on some statistics. 2023 Uganda Police Annual Crime Report, for example, recorded about 14,681 cases of domestic violence. Now, about only 1,520 reached the courts. But imagine only 423 were convicted. That is how big the vice is. Now, we want to thank the Lord that compared to 2022, we got a drop in 2023. 2022 gave us about 17,698, indicating a drop. When we look at Uganda Demographic and Health Survey 2022, it indicates approximately 44% of women and 39% of men aged 15 to 49 report experiencing physical violence in their lifetime. Of course, with many believing that it is justified. Under certain circumstances, that is our society. It eats us deep down in our communities. Talking about rape and defilement, these statistics are alarming, quite alarming, because it indicates that the report still indicates that 8,960 cases of defilement and about 1,623 cases of rape were reported in 2022. You can also believe me that 1 in 4 women report that their first sexual experience was rape. That's how big gender-based violence is. Looking at our girls and women in the eastern parts of the country where we have female genital mutilation, the statistics right there are alarming. Looking at the children violence, stemming from psychological torture, stemming from deprivation, stemming from physical violation, all those are eating us up. Statistics indicate about 35% of girls and 17% of boys are abused sexually. They experience sexual violence. And then, of course, we know that the SGD 5, especially 5.2 and 5.3, talk about this, and this is what the CSOs aim at focusing on. 5.2, for example, indicates our focus is to eliminate all forms of violence against all women and girls in public and private spheres.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. I'm going to come back to you how Concern for Child initiatives are helping to bring about this challenge and also solving this issue. Allow me come back to you, Flavia, especially when talk about HIV and AIDS. You have been an advocate. You have been at the forefront, especially in the fight against. Especially when we talk about HIV, AIDS, and we talk about So you're going to help us on the connection, especially the connection between HIV/AIDS and gender-based violence, but also looking at some issues that have been taking place in this country. What is the connection between the two, especially when we talk about gender-based violence and the transition of HIV, especially among women and girls?
Thank you very much, Amon, and thank you for allowing us to come and have a kind of discussion on the interrelatedness of gender-based violence and HIV. My colleague has already said that a big number of women and men experience gender-based violence, and of course we know that it is mainly higher among the men, high among the women, and slightly less by maybe 5% among the men. So 44% among the women, 39% among the men. We continue to see a rise in defilement, and in 2023 alone, we had 14,681 cases of defilement. And this also means that, when it is forced, when sex is forced, it means people do not use protection. Therefore, we know that HIV is highly contracted or transmitted in cases of forced sex, and especially when they are tears. And we do realize that this defilement means that people have been forced into sex beyond when they are 18 years and below. And we do know that the girl's vagina and the men's anus is still, I'm imagining that part of this, I don't have the clear-cut male and female, but I'm imagining there's also kind of some anal sex. So the anus is not for sex, so it definitely will tear. And for the women at this age, the young women and the adolescents, their vagina is not yet grown enough to accept sex, and worst of all, forced sex. So it means there will be tears. And so if we have 14,681 cases, and you relate to the new infections of HIV, which is at 38,000 as of last year, but of the 38,000 who have newly acquired HIV, 15,000 are adolescents and young women, 24 years and below. So these defilement cases in the police annual crime report of 2023 collaborates very well with the new infections among adolescents and young women, new infections that happens in the year 2023, which is 15,000. So the correlation is 100%. If I just take it literal and I say we had these defilement cases, 14,681, and the new infections of HIV in the same year are 15,000. So it looks like it's highly intertwined, that among these young women and girls who are getting infected, they are being defiled, and they are actually being defiled by those people, those men who have got HIV. And also the recent reports indicate that 46% of the new infections are from young men 18 to about 30. So you can see that we are actually getting new infections from young people to young people, because this is the reproductive age. This is the time of adventure. This is the time when the body is really asking. And this is the moment when...
If you're unable to control it, then
yes, and this
end
is
up a victim.
Yeah, so this is an age where it's a reproductive age where the hormones also are high in action, where we have, so these things are very related. But let me talk about HIV. Especially
in relation to gender-based violence. Is
there
a connection?
Yes, a very big connection. We have had cases of murders because someone has been found to be HIV positive, and the partner is not happy about it, even before they know their HIV status, they go around to hurt and violate the other partner's rights. We have heard of cases where one person, a spouse, is positive and the other one is negative, and the positive one is stigmatized, discriminated, thrown out of home, beaten up, every other day being pointed at. And whenever this happens, for those of us who live with HIV, we appreciate stigma. Stigma is another form of gender-based violence, and it is more common against women because we, the women, are the first ones to go to the hospital to know, and we normally know our HIV status first because we go to deliver and we are tested. Men don't go to the labor ward. They come, stop somewhere, and they are told, you wait. So when we go for education, we are told, before you are served in this hospital, you must know your HIV status. So oftentimes, we are the first ones to know. So going back to inform our spouses that we are HIV positive becomes problematic. And some few who have done it have faced consequences. We have had murders, we have had assault, we have had battering, we have had women being chased out of their homes. But the reverse is also true. I don't know whether this is violence or whether it is a culture that we need to revise, is because when women and men are in discordant relationship and it is the man who is HIV positive, communities and families will always encourage the woman to remain and support the husband. But when it is the woman who is HIV positive, the family and the community will say, that one we cannot entertain. So there is a kind of violence in terms of how women and men are seen if they live with HIV. But we also realize that we currently have 1.492 people, 1,492,000 people living with HIV. And we have said of those who are newly infected, 15,000 adolescents and young women. We also realize that right now, the most people who are being lost to follow up, who are these young people, are about 80,000. And why? Because when they get pregnant, they are either abandoned or left for the dead because they have no one to support them. People think that when you are pregnant and you are HIV positive, when you are HIV positive in a number of places, you are not meaningful, you are not useful, you are no longer, the case of children who are not taken to school, the case of, we have seen abandonment.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Amon.
Thank you so
much. Continue from there.
Yeah, sure. I'll get back to you especially on the stigma and how it is affecting couples. Interesting. We are glad to have been joined by Godfrey Ducci, who is the mission coming from is a team leader of NA. Legal missions. You're going to tell us that more about that, and most welcome to this edition again, Dochi.
Good morning, listeners. I'm Godfrey Ducci. I'm glad to be on this panel this morning, and thank you, UBC, for hosting us. I'll be discussing on the same subject our sisters have been sharing concerning domestic violence.
Okay, interesting. We're going to have much more time to discuss on that, and especially how the church is helping couples to live with each other peacefully. We're talking about coexistence, peaceful coexistence, but how best we can also reduce issues of gender-based violence. I come back to you, Wembabazi, especially your initiatives and how you're helping children, that when the father and the mother are fighting, it is not affecting the siblings, the children, but also children of these days tend to pick things so very fast. The understanding is way beyond compared to what we used to have in the past. Living in the same environment where people are quarreling, where children are the victims, denied food, denied access to education, the emotional pain, the physical pain. How are you helping children really to get out of that, and especially engaging their parents to make sure that they live peacefully? What are some of the strategies that you would propose we can have to make sure that couples, children, neighbors live peacefully?
Thank you, Amon. Thank you once again. Talking about children, I want to appreciate the government of Uganda that they have put in place laws that govern children. We have laws, the Constitution of Uganda 1995 talks about children, especially Article 35. It outlines children's rights, including protection. We have the Children's Act, the Amendment Act 2016. It also talks about child protection. We have the Children Act 1996, talks about children. Uganda has embraced international frameworks as well. Remember, it is a signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of Children, of the Child. And the African Charter as well comes up with laws governing children and talks about child protection as well. So we have so many places to refer to when it comes to child protection and gender-based violence and child violence as well. So in that space, I feel we have a fallback position, and it's quite a great job on our shoulders for us to get acquainted with these laws and to get acquainted with how best as Ugandans we can intervene and make sure that we safeguard our children. I'll speak for CGC as one of the CSOs in the country. We do quite a lot in ensuring that the children are protected out there. We raise our voices, speak against these violences, and through our programming of child protection and advocacy, we do quite a number of things to make sure that we protect the child. We support to strengthen legal frameworks in the country. We do capacity building of staff, and we also do collaborative engagements. We belong to a number of coalitions, one of which is Girls Not Brides Uganda, where we voice up our efforts that engage in child protection and safeguarding against gender-based violence.
Okay.
We also belong to UCRNN, a coalition that voices children's rights in the country. We do a lot of community engagements through safe spaces. We create safe spaces down there in the community, knowing that we are standing and supporting the government, serving to make sure that Uganda is a safe haven for children.
Interesting. Duchi, again, I bring you in as an evangelist, a man that I've known for years for preaching the gospel, but also helping communities to be empowered, fighting such voices that arise from different communities. As an evangelist, I'm wondering what role does the church play, especially when it comes to addressing gender-based violence? And how can religious institutions create a safer environment for all these survivors?
Good morning once again. Thank you. I would want to say, for example, the churches, or the church that I'm involved in the marriages, these issues we're talking about of domestic violence come out. There are reasons that cause them. Sometimes we may not sit down and say we talked and it is over, because it has a lot of things that come that lead to that. And we do counseling. The counseling services at churches where couples that are going through challenges can go and open up, and we encourage them to open up. The churches, especially here in Kampala, where couples, before they get married, they take time to talk to each one of them, give them some couples who are mature, who have experienced it all, probably 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in marriage, to stand with them and show them what they need to do. And then on top of course, marriage, usually church, as a church, they will encourage people to have matron and best man, not because they have the same size and color, but because there are people whom they can run to in case of these challenges, and then they refer to the church. So the church has a program where people can be able to open up, and they share. They teach them everything they need to expect. The challenge with people today, many of them, the young couple, when they are thinking of wedding, they think of a wedding, but they don't know the life after wedding. They don't prepare for that. They prepare for a wedding, and when the wedding is over, the women come with the expectations, the men have the expectations. 1 year they're in a honeymoon, everything's fine. The second, probably 6 months after that wedding, the true colors come out. The man says, no, I think I made a mistake. This is the guy I was supposed to marry. The woman said, I think I made a mistake. And then it is silent inside them. They may not open up to tell each other, but one is angry and one is like regretting, why did I marry this person? And then you are talking, for you are okay, you are married. One of the partners is not actually happy, and whatever mistake you make, there's a strict Bible says, love covers a multitude of sins. And usually when you are in love, there are certain things you tend to overlook. But the moment love ceases, then faults will increase. Then you realize that some of these people, the character that you had never known, when you are getting involved in marriage, to get married, there are things that you had never seen because you are taken over by love and excitement of marriage.
They always tell us that love is blind. At that moment, you are blind to see all those things.
Actually, it is not blind. It is just like what a scripture have said, that love covers a multiple of things and wrongs. So whatever is wrong, because you are in love, you don't see it.
You don't see them.
And sometimes a man can be, I have been advising couples, you are dating a man and you go out and you are late, and the man almost pours a cup of tea or coffee on you because you are late for a date and you're planning to prepare for your wedding.
Really?
Yes, that's a sign of you are going to a very dangerous you are treading on a dangerous path.
The red flags there.
Yes, those are signs. Then you say, I was supposed to meet with my boyfriend and he came. And
can you imagine he came late?
I came late and he even slapped me. And you say, oh, but there was a sign that this man is violent. There's Yes, so you don't say she will change. The moment you are not married and he slaps you, then you know you are going to even be caned and kicked and thrown all over the place. So we need to take time. I would encourage people to take time. And many of these people in marriage, they start when they have money. One of the causes of the domestic violence is lack of money. He had a job, he can take care of you. You say, I want to go to work on my hair. He gives you the money, drive me here. Tomorrow he loses a job. And you still come with the old demands. And the man looks at you as a problem. Now, you may not know what is going through in his head. And the response, the way he will talk back, when we talk to you as a woman, will not make you happy.
Okay.
And then we also have women where when you are in that situation, they did not give you what you want. You say this, you did not want, and you give an excuse, and then she starts nagging. Now, even the Bible says that in Proverbs, it is better for a man to live on a rooftop than staying in a house with a nagging woman. So that's where you end up when the woman is nagging, and we have this anger management problem.
Okay, but also Duchi, looking back at especially on the survivors, for many survivors, healing is not just physical or psychological, but sometimes spiritual. I'm wondering how you, the faith leaders, are supporting these survivors of gender-based violence, especially in their spiritual recovery.
It is just usually, we do counsel. As I had told you in the first place, we talk to them, they are counseled, and most of these, it is not just between a spouse and what the violence, and you talk of gender violence, but I was talking about domestic violence. It involves even the children. It affects, for example, couples separate, but even the children who stay behind, the violence of the father might also affect them. So many times you find you have to counsel the mother, counsel the father, or counsel the children, because it is either way. One of them can be violent, and whoever is violent, I've seen when a man is violent, the women tend to gang with their children. I say, we are the affected ones here. If the woman is violent, it is the man with the children. And so...
and that makes a man even more angry. He would start saying, okay, you are now partnering with your children against me.
Yes. And you don't know where this man is coming from. Most of these things come from home. You know, the children, especially children who are products of families where the parents have been fighting, they tend to also grow and do that. There's a silent lesson we learn from our parents. Marriage is, I always tell people that many times when you have children around, whatever we do, the children are learning. You may not tell them, I'm teaching you to fight, I'm teaching you to do this. They only learn from you.
Sure.
So if the mother was being beaten by the father, the next time that boy already has already a problem. When anything happens from the wife, he says, that's why my father used to beat my mother. And he slaps you. It doesn't even count. He said, that's how men react.
Oh, yes. We quite find that in the counseling.
Okay, interesting. Thank you so very much, Doche. Flavia, again to you. You talked about testing, especially women testing when they are going for antenatal care, during delivery. So many times you'd find that a woman, at least in a year, has tested for HIV several times as compared to men. But also for those that have tested, especially when it is not about pregnancy, testing for pregnancy, or even delivery, is it maternal antenatal care? When a couple, one of them goes for testing, most times, and he finds out, she or he finds out that he's positive, most times they fear to disclose to their partners. For those that have disclosed to their partners, it is who tested first that is all. That means that you had gone somewhere and done your silly things, and now you are fearing, and now it has proved you that indeed you have brought, even when they are not sure who brought the virus first. Is testing, do you see this being one of the drivers for gender-based violence? And how best can we solve that? That whoever goes and tests is not generally the one who had brought the virus.
Thank you, Amon. I'll start on the fact that gender-based violence, stigma and discrimination are mainly founded on ignorance and lack of knowledge. And knowledge about comprehensive HIV and AIDS is only 56% among women, to know that if I test, I can live positively. If I test, I can live with another one in discordancy. To know that if I test, we have different forms of methods of preventing and protecting each other. Among men, it is 54%. So then, level of knowledge about HIV in its wholesomeness, from prevention, treatment, social support and protection, is still not what you would expect. It's now 42 years since we knew about the HIV in this country, but we still see that the information gap is there. But we also would like to also put it on the fact that because women interface more with the caring economy, caring bit of life, they find themselves interfacing with the health system more than the men do. And therefore, most times, because when you reach your immunization, they are bringing tests. When you go, they want to do COVID, you are the one. So every time any case comes, women find themselves at the center of these medical programs. And we are not saying it is bad, it is good that we know. But what is missing, I don't want us to dwell on the challenges. I want to look at ourselves. When we grew up in schools, we were taught some life skills on how to manage ourselves, on how to manage live with others, on how to avoid peer pressure. Because some of the gender-based violence is people go, me, my wife can't do this, me, my husband can't do this, me, I do like this. And people from pressure sometimes think it's the norm, which is not. And if we want to have better lives where people can coexist, we need to look at those values that benefit society. If I'm living with you and you are sick, how would you feel you do wish to be treated? If I lived with you and had a problem, how would you, the empathy, the critical analysis before we do things, what happens? Before you start beating a woman because they have said, oh, you are abusing a man because they tested positive, have you tested yourself? And you know, for you to prevent HIV, HIV testing is the fountain for prevention. Because if you don't know your HIV status, you are not going to be able to protect yourself or protect others from getting the HIV. So there are life skills that we used to get in school, but these days, I'm not saying rights of people and children are wrong, but we have become parents who don't want anyone to even guide or counsel our children. We appreciate that a number of bad people have come. They are taking advantage of our children in the name of counseling or support. And COVID showed us that within our circles, in our families, in our schools, in our churches, our children and ourselves have been abused because we have trusted those close people. Those days, rape and defilement were from strangers, but now it is from within our households, from within our churches, from within our schools, from within our workplaces. And we are seeing this all the time. And then the other issue that is causing challenge is that I think we have learned to get handouts. A number of young people have learned that there is no for an answer. When they ask for something, the people have loved the children more than is necessary. That a child goes to school with a band of 5 million and they are busy splashing. The other day, I don't know whether it is true, a parent gave a car to an S4 liver in terms of success. I don't know whether that is good. It's good to have a car, but is it good to bring it even to school if you wanted to give the child that car?
But also there was a case where a boyfriend gifted a girlfriend with a brand new car at school
so those
on the
things
visiting day and her birthday.
We have lost the social fabric, the values that take us to school. What are we grooming? Because we were groomed to be patient, to understand that in society it's not all about money, it's about living with others, harmonious. That's why we have the word called Ubuntu, the humanness. Why would a parent, if a teacher told you the child is causing mistakes and you say, that is my child, even if a teacher who told a child that let us prepare this child for the future. In case you are not here, then this woman says, for me, the future is already prepared. If you can't manage, let me take my child. So our teachers have been cowed to say, okay, you bring the money. We shall do the academics, but the career guidance, the value bit is remaining in a few church-aided schools and some traditional schools. But many of these mushrooming schools are just looking at money. They are not looking at developing a wholesome person. And then the other reason why we are having a lot of violence, and from the U-boats, it was seen that a majority of those who were talking about, who are saying it's okay for a woman to be beaten, are those who have not been to school or have very low education. So education, if children, girls and boys remain in school, they get exposed. They attain the purpose of education as to change and also to be different persons. We would change gender-based violence. But these days, women and men have become, and I think recently I heard about the association of men who are saying we need to claim our space because they feel that the women have been empowered a lot. I don't think women have been empowered a lot. They are still low, because even you look at the jobs, the positioning, even the dropouts, women still are highest, and those who are getting problems in life are mainly women. But we need to touch the boy child and the men, that they should understand they are men, because it is given that they are stronger. And I think when you are strong, you don't use it to hurt, you use it to protect, to love. And if we go to church, Jesus says, love your wives like Jesus loved the church. And the women can submit. By the way, if a woman is loved, they will submit to anything. But we have seen some men just want to say, you are the woman, do this. Don't you know I'm your father? By the time you start telling your children or your wife that don't you know I'm your husband? Don't you know I'm your wife? I'm your father? It means you have failed. And then also we have looked at a system, particularly in health. We are looking at treatment. We wait for violence to happen to start talking. Okay. We wait for diseases to happen, we treat. But the reverse should be true. We should start from our homes. The mindset change pillar, which is pillar, I think, 7 in the National Development Plan. We need to change the mindsets of people on how we relate, on how we socialize, on those norms, social norms and cultural norms that are negative, that are not building homes. We need to go back and look at because me, when I grew up, if a person lost a husband, they would remain there, be supported by the family. Okay, they used to be in inheritance, but these days it has gone. But I remember all those who lost their husbands when I was young. I'm now 55. They are still in their homes. They have kept their property. They have taken their children. But these days, families, when a man dies, the whole clan wants to come and share this property. They want to beat up whoever it is. They take the property, take care of their children. They forget the children of their brothers or sisters. And you know, when you hurt people, you beget crime in the minds, and the trauma causes crime. That's why we are seeing a lot of crime. People who have been deprived, who have not been supported in schools, if have been abused, people who have not supported by police, who have not been supported by church. And I also want to say this about some churches. They claim they heal everything. They claim they can treat everything. And me, I was asking, if they can, why didn't they even treat COVID? I'm a believer, and I believe that for me, a miracle is not about removing HIV from my blood. It's about all that support system. For instance, for me, my miracle with HIV was getting on antiretroviral treatment. For 2 years, I'm on treatment. And I've lived, yes, since it's 2003. So why do we even allow, as a government, I think they are also violating us. Why would a government work when somebody is claiming they are healing and people are dying in churches and people are being defiled? Somebody says a church is doing this or a mosque or whatever. We are just seated and people are peddling medication, this medication, mutura kungo, we heal everything. We are violated from all angles.
Dochi is an evangelist, and I can see he's opening the Bible. Perhaps he's going to refer you to a script where you can get healed and completely get that miracle.
My belief system and my faith believes that when God touched the soil, Jesus touched the soil and put in the eyes, that was a miracle. Okay. So it's not merely about listening and the getting out of maybe.
Before I bring Wimbawazi in, Duchi, Flavia talked about women being empowered, and men think that they have lost their position, especially in society and in families. But also we have seen reports, especially by police, where men have been violated their marriages, in homes, in societies, but they fear to report by the African saying that men must not perhaps look at that low and cheap, especially when they are violated. How best can we empower men for those that are violated, for those who are victims of gender-based violence, to come up and report like we have seen women do report?
I think some of these things are a little bit tricky because it's cultural, the cultural beliefs. One of the things we mention is that a man cannot be beaten by a woman. So when a woman beats you, you feel ashamed of yourself, and you don't want even to disclose it. And yet these women, you have seen it even in some of these things circulating on social media, where a woman gets a man and beats him and rolls him like a dog and hits, and because some of these women also, where they come from,
and they don't come to police to report,
and
neither
they don't
come
report
to you, the pastors, and say prayer about it. My woman is really torturing me at home.
They say those are issues in the house they want to keep themselves because they want to keep the integrity. Their home, we pretend that everything is fine at home.
Is that for peaceful coexistence, or it is increasing gender-based violence?
It increases because, anyway, first of all, there are other reasons. And sometimes these women can beat you up. But she talks about men. A woman can beat you her arm on. She can do something wrong because they know how to talk, and the man is silent, and she can beat you and shout even, and then everyone will think because you are a man, you are the one in the wrong. The man is always the one in the wrong. And we have been empowering women, and women emancipation has been women emancipation. They are empowering women, but they have left the boys. These girls are studying. These bad girls are looking at they have a dream, a man in their mind, but our boys are left behind. And when you leave them behind, who is going to marry these women? And when they come, you realize that the woman's life is totally different. And then the man is also ignorant in his own way. And then the two are mismatching, even when they are stuck together. And they never discover this before they get married. They get to know it when they're already married. And the issues I talked about before, like anger, you find a person, one of the people you are getting married to, has anger issues, or hot-tempered. A hot-tempered person is very difficult to live with. The moment you know that your boyfriend or your spouse or your fiancé is hot-tempered, then you know there's a red light signaling you that where you are going there is danger. So as we empower, we talk about men. I wanted to first bring the scripture she mentioned, that love, the men are supposed to love their wives as Christ loved the church. That's the principle. Love your wives as Christ loved the church. And the Christ actually did not only love the church, but he died for it. And that's what he says, that men love your wives. And then he says women must also submit to their husbands. And there was one thing I was sharing recently. We were talking about this here in town. And this scripture came up that just as Sarah obeyed Abraham and called him my Lord, so do the same for your what? For your husband. And so sometimes when you treat your husband like a king, he's your king at home. We don't backbite things, you don't talk, you don't fight with kings, you don't throw words at kings. When he's a king, you treat him as a king. He's a king in your home. The man would also love you, because you can't love someone who mistreats you. And you say, there's water there, go and take it. You don't know where the kitchen is, go and get it, whatever. You have come, it doesn't greet you, and he goes, I'm busy. And you realize that now the man, there's no. Then you think the woman is mistreating you like this. In Uganda, the women in Uganda used to respect their husbands, and many tribes outside Uganda would marry Uganda women because they knew they were very submissive. And that is something that we should not disregard because they are empowered. Being submissive is biblical. Submit to your husband as you submit to Christ. there are some women who disregard their husband, they despise their husbands, but then when they go to church, they want to honor their pastors. the pastor says something, it's like God has spoken, but at home it is a different thing. So, and it also annoys men, and it can create problems. So as a man, you are supposed to love your wife as Christ loved the church.
All right.
And then when you love the wife, she has said it, when you love your wife and the woman knows that but some of us, how can you give what you have not had?
Okay, interesting. Our dear listener, this is Ground Zero program on 5 radio stations covering entire Uganda. That is on UBC Radio in Kampala, Magic 100 FM in Kampala, Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, Western Nile FM in the heart of Arua, and Voice of Bundubujo. We are also streaming live on YouTube. You just enter UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of the conversation. I do have a privilege and honor to have Duchi Godfrey, the team leader of Nile Missions. We also have Flavia Chomkama is the executive director of AGA, and also we do have Jacqueline Hope Wembabazi, the programs manager concerned for Guile Child. Ampaire Amanotega is my name. I'm taking a very short break, and when I return, I'll be picking your calls and also reading your messages. 70776 511 426. The number is 0776 511 426 is the number you can call and also send your messages there. I'll be reading your messages and also picking your call after this very break. I'm returning in just a bit. I pray you don't go away.
This is Ground Zero Season 2. Stay tuned. We shall be right back. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody should. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customary tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Independent sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations around the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Uganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Bududi FM, 100.5 Nge FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Total Ray Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Bundubujo. Now you're covered in your local language.
UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda. Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
Welcome back from that very short break. This is UBC Ground Zero, and we are live and clear on 6 radio stations covering entire Uganda. And this is your time to participate and share your perspective on the topic, strategies to ending gender-based violence for peaceful coexistence. 0776 511 426, and I'm also going to be reading your messages on 0701 24 26 47. Tell us what you think and how best can we reduce gender-based violence, especially in our homes. Reading some messages coming through from the listeners who are part of us from the other side of radio, and also picking your calls. UBC Ground Zero.
Yes, good morning, Magic.
A very good morning to you.
Yes, this is Ofen Kisa from Kisasi.
All right.
So thank you for the program.
Most welcome, sir.
Because this program which you have brought, it is very, very important. And I wonder, I last listened it to the village when in 2018.
Wow.
When my radio station, because I come from West Nile, when my radio station, Pai FM, they used to bring those big elders to talk about something which they were doing in the past compared to this day. And basing on the fact which you are talking about, you know, this day generally gender-based violence, all those things, they are just coming towards because generally for us Africans, we have lost this thing which we call African traditional society. Whereby in the past, I remember those people, they used to do their thing together. When something to share, you find that the whole community they just get somewhere whereby they can go and call other people also, and then they discuss so many things. So they were like one. So like this day, you find that someone also thinks for his own whatever. And when you go ahead and beat maybe someone's child or whatever, it becomes like a code. So like in the past, you find that when you beat someone's child, the father can just say, thank you for teaching my child.
Okay.
So you find this day, because of arrogance over words, that is why it is, and it is very difficult to control it this time now.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, okay.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you for being part of us from the other side of radio. 776-511-426 is the number you can call and share your perspective. How best can we bring about peaceful coexistence in our marriages, in our communities, in our families, and in our churches? Because at the end of the day, they start from home and then they go to the church, and before you know, they have gone to entire community. Ground Zero. UBC Ground Zero. Okay, lost you. Call again. This one is called Simon and says, Amon, do you know why men die early compared to women? It is because men are being violated every day, especially when we talk about emotional pain. When we report, where and when can men report this? But it's just a slap to a woman runs to police, and at the end of the day, a man is a victim. But when he is a victim at home, but also a victim at police when he is thought to have violated the woman. Okay. Ground Zero.
Amon, good morning.
A very good morning to you, sir.
Jima from Busega.
All right.
Thank you for serving the nation.
Most welcome, sir.
Gender-based violence, I think currently it is basing on three factors. Number one, finances. A husband who is poor, today even a woman will never respect him. And it is easy for those who enact security enforcers or enforcement to react harshly on this poor husband. And now what can we do? Another thing, human rights. Gone are the days, a couple, if there is a violence among a man and a woman, there are procedures to follow. And within those procedures, you'll find in the middle somewhere there, the person who is wrong. This very lady who might report the husband first might be the very person who caused the trouble. But due to this, some of other principles or the laws, the policies, which has geared up female to take over. Then a man will go and die in silence. And yet this man, really, he had no one to expose what was going on, wrong or good, from within their home state. And the third one, compromises of the police. They are being compromised. They are being sheep. Don't convince Juma alone that for you, you're in military attire, and when you're handling cases concerning homes, concerning domestic, you have to bring all what you know can make you to achieve what you want for that very moment. No, that's wrong. There are people, even there are some men who are weak, they rush to report a case, and yet they know the muscles of the case, they are the very one who are the cause of the case. But only because they have money, they are going to bribe an officer, which is bad. For us, what we want, service deliveries. If you know you're a police, your laws, your mandate is to keep law and order. Don't go extra, because you are earning a monthly salary. You are being paid by government, and the government getting that money from the very one inch, the one you're mistreating here. Now, why don't you remain professional? You do your work as a professional, and we have to go back to our cultural method of how to handle cases within the home states. If your husband is bad, or if your woman is bad, you report to your elder brother. If the elder brother has failed to assist you, you continue to either the grandfather or to your father-in-law.
Okay, thank you so much,
sit
sir.
you down and set the issue amicably. Nothing like money, nothing like exposure of money, finances. What problem is too much. Amon, thank you very much for serving the nation. I wish next month or next year you bring this topic again. It is itching us so much here in the public.
Interesting. We promise to bring more of these programs
Alhamdulillah,
in the future. All right. Thank you so very much. And also some Ground Zero. You're live on radio.
Good morning.
A very good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
You are talking to Salome. I'm in Palsa.
In Palisa, Salome. All right.
Yeah. I need something like 1 to 2 to say. Okay, it's like I have gone to test for HIV. And my husband doesn't know that I'm HIV positive. The result has come out that I'm HIV positive. Now, how can I go and tell my husband that I have HIV positive? Yet for him, where he has not yet gone, it test over for him, he has no. So concern is, when also talked of children, that they are doing each and everything to make sure that children are protected. Now my question is, what should be done to these children whom you tell the things and they are not taking it seriously? Mr. Godfrey said of treating a husband as a king. I don't think it's like, if my husband is like a lion in the family, how can I treat him like my king? The best way of me treating him as my king is for me to keep quiet, just to avoid the domestic violence and to be within the family. Because when I treat him like a king, yet he's a lion to me, I don't think whether that family will work.
Okay.
I just wanted to know that.
Thank you, Sarame. And greetings to the people of Palisa. Wow. So some interesting submissions from the listeners there. All right, I'm going to also read some few messages, and I go back to the studios for my guests to answer some of the callers, some of those concerns. I had read for Simon, and someone also says, spare the rod and spoil the child is what they always preach to us when we go to church. But when fathers try to enforce this, it is termed as violence against children. And when children are left alone, they become nuisance in the communities and societies. And it is blamed back to their parents for not raising well these children. What should parents do? Ground Zero.
Hello, big bro. Good morning.
A very good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, you're speaking to Humble.
You're calling from?
I'm calling from Kamocha.
Kamocha, all right.
Yes.
Your concern, sir?
Actually, the program is very interesting.
Thank you, sir.
Those things used to happen those days. Even nowadays down in the village side down. It's happening. It's happening.
What should we do to reduce such cases in our communities?
Now what we should do, we as men, we should be having a lot of busy. Because these ladies nowadays, not like this. We should be having helping one another.
Okay.
And we join hand together.
Okay.
Okay, have a good day.
You too, please. Okay, Amon, it is very simple. When one starts quarreling, the other partner should get away. When you stay in a violent place, then you have welcomed violence against yourself. Ground zero? Ground zero?
Yes, hello.
You're live and clear.
I'm Martin Ogwal calling from Lira.
Lira, you're most welcome,
Yes.
sir. What should we do to reduce such cases of gender-based violence in our homes?
What? Community sensitization or civil education should be given. But there should be also a review in government policy about the women emancipation. And it should be balanced. And women should be also given opportunity, but their roles must be, at least their roles, they should know where their roles must, the limit of their roles.
Okay.
They can play in a home.
Okay. Thank you so very much, sir. And the people of Lila, we love you so very much. So many messages coming in. Someone says that when women, when they need to divorce men or their husbands, they hide in the name of gender-based violence and run to police and report how they have been violated. And before you know, FIDA comes in, and in the next week you'd find that she's married somewhere. Men are still vulnerable when we talk about gender-based violence. That is Emma. EBC Ground Zero?
Yes.
You're live and clear. Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Emmanuel Opejo calling from Entebbe.
Okay, sir. Your concern, sir?
Yes, sir. Actually, for me, I liked what the pastor said, about like they have overpowered women. Just of recent, the wife of my brother cut my brother with a panga.
She cut?
Yes. Just because that the brother was standing with some lady.
Standing or having an affair?
And there is no action taken even up to this time. But now I'm thinking like, if it was my brother who did that to the lady, I think by now he would be in prison. Actually, maybe in now even. Actually, I like that program, and maybe you should come back and teach again the couples how they can be together in peace for a long time.
Okay.
Because when you remember back in the days, people were living even if they don't have money. But because of the money issues and so many things, they are not settled. Thank you for the program.
Welcome, sir. And this is the same concern sent by our, I think is Egumani. Egumani says that when women these days love more than their husbands, when she realized that the money doesn't have money, is not providing even for pet things like hair, she would start quarreling until you beat her. Before you know, you're in court and police, and then that is how gender-based violence has been. One of the drivers, I think, is money in relationships. Someone says when men report that they are violated, nothing is done unto them, and police will keep just staring at you and say, can't you be a man? How can you be beaten up by a woman? But when a woman runs to them, they can put anything on the side and work on her first. Okay. So many messages coming in. I may not be able to read all of them, and you've heard from the callers that we've signed. And this is we have a very few minutes to end this conversation. I'm starting with Duchi, Wembabazi, and Flavia. How I wish that you summarize just 1 minute, and addressing these concerns. Thank you so very much, Duchi.
Okay. Thank you. A few things I would want to say. A person like Sarah may say that when a man is like a lion, how would you treat him like a king? Many times when a man becomes a lion, there's a reason that has caused him to become a lion. Those are the issues which we are saying, that you first understand the kind of a man. Have they been a lion when you met, when you were dating? Did you date a lion? Why did he become a lion? Some people, when they get married, you saw marriage, that's why the church is coming in to advise people who want to enter into this institution. It's an institution which is supposed to be you enter for life. And so you should be very careful. You should not rush in it. And they usually tell them, but people don't listen. Even they make those vows, they say you don't rush like an animal. Think about it. Are you doing the right decision? Yesterday I was listening to a couple that has been married for 82 years. And the man is 103 and the woman is 100 years. And they have grandchildren. So there are people who made right choice and they have been able to understand how to live together. They marry when they are friends. You don't marry a boy and then tomorrow you say he's like a lion. A man who loves you and you continue, maintain it, you work on it. You don't sit down and say, now that I'm married, I've gotten a ring, I can behave the way I want. Women, when they get married, sometimes they are submissive. They clean, they work, they do everything a man expected in a wife. They do. Life is good, but then later on, they begin changing. And then they begin, and then the men realize it. And then sometimes, as I told you, finances are not okay and you are not able to do. That's why women need to be empowered, that when you come in, you also have something. Some of these men don't want all the time you're asking this and this and that. That's what causes even some of them say, I'm tired of becoming like a what? A parasite. All the time I have to give you this, I have to give you this, I have to do this. You have to take care of your relatives, I have to take care of this one. And then the quarrels begin. That's why women need to get into marriage. When they know that they have what they can do and bring in on the table.
Exactly.
Yes, you also know you don't enter when you will take care of me 100%. You also need that you have your 50%. If the man is not bringing, he could come home and find food. Not saying, would you buy food? What kind of a man are you? Mm-hmm. You know, there are good days where there are bad days. So you should be able, you work on it and build your family. You know, and then you raise your children, and you don't just say, I will get in and then divorce. Where do you leave your children? So then I was reading a scripture here from our sister when she mentioned it, and I was reading it for them. It is from 1 Peter chapter 3. It says that for chapter 3, I will begin from verse 3. Your adornment, this is talking to women, that your adornment must not be merely external, for interweaving and elaborating, knotting the hair, that is braiding the hair, wearing gold and jewelry, and being superficially preoccupied with dressing in expensive clothes. But let it be inner beauty of the hidden person of the heart, within which is imperishable quality and unfolding charm of a gentle and peaceful spirit, one that is calm and self-controlled, not anxious, but serene and spiritually mature, which is very precious in the sight of God. Now, if you're a woman who does that, there's no way a charm spirit, a peaceful person will do what? Will make a man become a lion. Okay. Why would we become why does become a man become like a lion? He talks and you talk and talk non-stop until when the man bursts up in anger, even when he did not want. You know, sometimes I used to talk even to my wife when we come in. That's when you go to work and you come when you are stressed. Leave the work stress home at work, and when we come home, it's a new environment. Let's have peace. So the woman can come and find that she was stressed, and then she hits all your stress on you. And the same thing with a man. So you have to work towards peace of the family. And the last part of the scripture I was reading, and it's most important for us to listen.
Maybe if you can summarize it, sir, because time is not on our side.
Yes, he says that, but Sarah obeyed Abraham, following him and having regard of him as a head of the house, calling him my Lord, and you have become her daughters. You do what is right without being frightened by the fear that brings respect toward your husband, but not giving in to intimidation, not allowing yourself to be led into sin, not be harmed. As we love our husbands, we should not we submit to them that we put ourselves in danger.
Okay.
There's an area where we have to protect ourselves. That's why you run away.
Thank you, Dochi Wembawazi.
Oh, thank you, Amon. Thank you, listeners. It's quite an engaging talk. I am glad to be part of it this morning. Before I get to my mandate here, allow me say a few things about what my friends Flavia and Rich have said earlier on about poverty. Elevating gender-based violence. It is important for us to note that very many people are diverting women empowerment into something ugly. They are painting it ugly. Friends, dear listeners, I want us to look at this as a biblical mandate, but also a communal mandate. If we do not heed to this empowerment of women, we are bound to cripple the economy, because I love the way Dutch brings it out. An empowered woman is a vital asset in the current situation. When you look at Genesis 2:18, the Bible talks about a suitable helper. A suitable helper is what you need. Now, it is time for us to get into mindset change campaigns. Men need to be empowered, that they need empowered women. Without an empowered woman with this current economy, you're bound to die under the stress of the highly raising economic standards in our country. Otherwise, we all need an empowered woman, a woman that will bring something to the table. And the only way this woman can be empowered is through talks like these of ending gender-based violence, of bringing men on board. Men should come on board to support women empowerment. Friends, if we are to see men that are sane, otherwise men are getting into an insane mode because the economic burden on their shoulders is way draining. It is draining them down. I hope that friends out there look at women empowerment from a positive perspective as compared to the negative perspective. I was discussing with my friend here, the church should come in only to voice the how do we instill morals in our women? Because when the Bible does that, a woman is supposed to be submissive. Being empowered doesn't cause you to fail to be submissive. Before I came here, I had to ask my husband to bless me. I asked my husband to send me in power. Without his blessing, I wouldn't have come here to speak to the nation. Otherwise, women need to remember submission is key as we coexist. From that point, allow me to talk about what Flavia said as well. I'm coming to my space.
But also to what the callers said, because
yes.
All of you are not answering the callers.
Yes. She talked about women being inherited, the widows being inherited. Which empowered woman is going to allow such things? If I do not love you, there is no way you're going to force me. There is no way culture is going to force me to be inherited by a man that I do not love. Why? How? So that is why we need to empower women. And if we empower women, we are going to look forward towards ending the spread of HIV in your space, Flavia. Back to the children's rights. I have had people, our listeners, our callers of messages coming in, and I want to address this very critical issue of children's rights. I have had negative sentiments flicker in a little against child protection. People saying that these days communities do not easily discipline children. I hear children are overly empowered and they're becoming disobedient.
Spare the road and spoil the child. Saying that you spare the road, you spoil the child.
All those
but only
things.
when you spare the child and becomes a nuisance in the community, it is also blamed back to the parents that they did not nurture them very well.
Man, not even the man.
Understand something. We as CSOs are not going to back off, because even our government is standing strong to fight for the rights of children. When we look at the 2020 National Children's Policy, it's what guides us on how best we can protect our children. We are going to protect these children. And remember, what we are saying is not that child protection is going to cause defiance. We are working with some of these things at the back of our mind. When you look at the African Charter, for example, African Charter on Rights and Welfare of Children that the OAU came up with, Article 31 emphasizes that children have a duty to work for the cohesion of the family. We know these things. As implementers of these laws and acts, we know that even within the law, the children are apprehended for not respecting parents, and we sensitize the children about this. If you brought me a child who has disobeyed a parent, the law will punish them as well. So as we are sensitizing communities about child protection, against child violence, we also know that the children have a duty. They have a duty. Is it
possible to nurture children without disciplining them sometimes?
Have an approach currently that we are handling with partner CSOs led by Raising Voices, partners at CGC, which is called the school kit. The school kit helps us to implement positive discipline. Trust me, you can do positive discipline for children and save their souls. The more you hit this child, the more you harden their soul. And they're going to grow with that hardened soul, and they will lose it. You know, someone who says that, Naguba. Huh?
But
I can do certain things. Why do we take our children to that level? Hitting children hard and inflicting pain.
It may not be hitting hard.
For us, we speak against violence against
all
children.
All of us must have gone through a slipper session that our mothers got slippers and they would discipline us in one way or the other. And perhaps we are responsible citizens of this country today because of that slipper. And now, you advocates want that slipper to be taken away, and then the children become the slippers themselves.
Here, we are bringing something on board, positive discipline. We are not saying take away discipline completely.
Okay.
There is positive parenting, positive discipline.
Flavia.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and the listeners who called in. I think what Chisa said, we are no longer a community. We have become individuals. We have taken on capitalism. I for myself, me, myself, and I. So it's no longer like community support that used to be. That's why you even see someone is being beaten in the front of your gate and no one gets out. But also, the security times have changed. So the changing times are not conducive to those cultural tenets of relationships, of marriage. We have to fit into the changing times. That to date, both men and women will need to work. To date, both men and women will need to wash clothing, we need to wash cups, we need to cook, because in many times you separate even, and one is living alone, another one is living alone. So we need to teach our children, both boys and girls, that they need to understand and do their work as they are supposed to be, but also be independent, because the changing times are not allowing us to be together. You stay in the village, another one is town, another in Kabala, another one in Karamoja. So are we going to go around marrying because we want somebody to wash us, or being married because there is somebody there to take care of us? But also, I think the traumas and that people undergo in their homes because of the violence, and we saw this during COVID. The reason, we are seeing a replica. There is a multiplier that, when people stay in homes or relationships or are facing trauma a lot, they tend to replicate that. So what we need to do now is to start talking to our children, exposing them to conflict resolution processes from childhood, making them understand that not everything is always there. There is always time when they will be rejected, and children are failing to understand that they can be rejected because, like I said, we have become, especially us of the upper class, we have loved our children so much that they don't know no for an answer. If you go to the supermarket, they touch everything and they take. But if you went to the whites, you pick this, the Mzungu will not beat you for picking as a child. But I tell you, no, this one we don't have money. We need to teach the children what it is to live in the future, not by, backing, by saying no, or you just give everything that the person picks. So we need to also start thinking about our responsibilities. The question was like, the women are becoming difficult, they are not becoming woman enough. But like I asked, if you start telling your child, don't you know I'm your dad, it means you have failed. If you say, don't you know I'm your mother, it means you have failed somewhere. Can we continue to hold those values that allow us as men and women be respected by our wives and husbands, but also the children who are expected to and the right and we want rights without fulfilling our responsibilities. And I was talking when we were developing the national male engagement strategy for the Ministry of Health, and I said that we were saying we need to grow men who can be leaders even without money. Okay. And so be it, if it is by church or culture that you are the head of the household, you're supposed to provide, you're supposed to protect. But if these are not happening, so things will turn around. But at the moment you provided, you were modest, you were doing your role, even when there isn't, this woman and children will always know daddy or mommy did this when she had. But when she doesn't have, she doesn't have. Then the other question was about
the last one,
HIV.
Time is not on our side. Yes.
There was something about how do we change the situation. And we talked about community sensitization. And AGA is trying to ensure that we change the situation. And we're having a pre-World AIDS Day marathon in Fort Portal on the 23rd of November. And we're trying to raise awareness again about HIV, that HIV is here. HIV is not about to go. We need to continuously go for testing. Those who are positive, we support them so that we stop the transmission. Because the more we violate, the more we stigmatize, the more HIV is transmitted. And we need to see how to work together. And then also the workplace violence, that one is very clear. Some banks, we are saying the sexual violence in those places is difficult for people to get promotions. Okay. So let's meet in Fort Portal next Saturday and
23rd.
Run. Yes, next Saturday, 23rd November. We run to empower communities to end AIDS by 2030.
I'm going to give you more time, especially to invite all of us, including Afande, who has just joined us.
Yes.
A privilege and honor to have you, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Atuhaile Maureen, who is in charge and a Family Protection Unit, Uganda Police Force. Better late than never. We can have you for the remaining minutes as we are giving way forward, but you will give us the understanding of gender-based violence, main causes, the role of your unit, the role and the responsibilities of your unit, and how are you supporting and protecting especially the victims, and so very many. That's how I've welcomed you onto this edition of Ground Zero, Madam.
Thank you, Amon. As I was responding to some emergencies, I was listening in to the talk show, and I must thank you for that. I want to thank the speakers who have been here trying to discuss this issue of gender-based violence, and I must say that I enjoyed every bit of discussion. I just want to respond to some concerns from the callers. One of them asked that why is it that people just run to police to go and report? To me, I think there is nothing wrong with going to police to report, because we've seen that gender-based violence is just being treated as a trivial issue in the community, that when something happens, you don't need to go to police to report. But there is a culture of silence which used to happen in our traditional societies. But right now that we've empowered people to speak out and end this violence, they choose to come to police. And once they come to police, it does not mean that they do wish you bad. They don't want you to be arrested and taken to prison. They are simply, and precisely that's why the Office of Child and Family was put in place, to be able to solve some of these issues, because if you do not attend to it, then it's going to escalate into other crimes like murder, acid attacks. You will have like serious traffic road accidents people may be on the steering wheel driving, but when their minds, like they are running around and they are thinking of the violence in the home. So for us to prevent further crimes, the office acts like a firefighting department. We just listen in and try to guide. And where we cannot solve issues, we have to refer to LCs, we refer to the family and children courts. We can also do law enforcement. We just have to detain someone and then we take them to court. But that's not our preference. We first raise awareness. We teach you, we tell you, you've gone wrong here. Can you please sit and reconsider? And there are others who have come and we take them back to their family members and we're like, yes, you have elders, you have neighbors, you have counselors, some of them believe in religious leaders. We take you back because all we're looking for, how can we be able to bring peace in a home? Another issue was that we are compromised at police. I don't think oftentimes that we are compromised, but I'm not saying that some police officers are right all through. Yes, there are others who could deviate from what they're supposed to do, but by and large, they try to do their work. When someone reports a case from the witnesses and the victims, you find that the other party is a victim. And many times, men are wronged. They don't quickly come to police to report, but when you investigate, you find out that this man has been aggrieved for quite a long period of time and they've been facing violence. And I want to thank the few men who are out there who have taken their courage to come and report these cases.
There are men who are reporting?
Yes, the men are reporting so much. Cases of custody, quite many. We have cases where their wives have engaged themselves in extra marital affairs and they've produced children that do not belong to their husbands, and they come and we try to sit and resolve these issues. Yes, there are men who have been beaten. You've already discussed about that. There are women who have money, but they cannot provide anything in their home. They don't want to help their husbands. They come in and they think that they're supposed to be given everything. No, but the Children Act says that parental responsibility is for two people. If a man brings a bunch of matoke home, what's wrong with me buying sauce? And sauce does not mean that I'm going to buy beans and groundnuts only. No, I can buy fish, I can buy chicken, I can buy meat. That's why I'm a helper to my husband. So this thing of thinking that it is a man who is supposed to pay fees, pay rent, medical bills, and everything, no, that's not how it is supposed to be. You're supposed to be a helper to your husband. You submit to your husband, you love your husband, and your husband loves you back. But what we see these days is that instead, I think men are being threatened when they see women being empowered, and being empowered, like you rightly said, does not mean that I do not submit to my husband. So they folded their hands and now they are like, okay, since you want to be the head of a home, now take over. So they folded their hands and they've left everything in the hands of women, which is not true, rather right, because we see many women struggling to pay fees, to pay all the bills, the water bills, the electricity bills, the school fees, taking care of the children, and it's quite expensive. So we want men to come back on the table, and good enough we have a religious person amidst us. We can use men to be champions to campaign against gender-based violence.
I thought you were going to say you need to pray for us.
Not really.
Men are really needed.
Yes, you need to empower more men to know that we need to work together as partners. We cannot live alone as women. We need men, and men need women. This is something that God created, and we must coexist it, but in a good way. I want to end by saying that disciplining a child, that's the discussion I also listened to. There is
sparing the rod and spoiling the child.
Yes, I want us to understand there is disciplining a child, but there is also torture. Exactly. So disciplining someone is totally different from torturing. So you cannot just pick a cane and beat someone as if you're hitting a snake. You just simply need to understand who your child is. You get to know who they are. you sit and talk to them. It does not mean that you have to pinch, you have to kick, you have to burn, you have to do all sorts of things. That's torture, and you're going to be arrested for it.
Exactly.
But children are knowledgeable. They can also share ideas. Once you listen to them, they're human beings, they have rights. And once you talk to them, they will differentiate right from wrong. But most important of all, the guardians and parents must be good role models. They are copying from you, they are watching you, so you can't tell them that this is wrong, yet you're doing the same thing. Because psychology says that, you know, they copy from what you're doing. They learn from the environment. They don't learn. Yes, exactly. They learn from example.
Okay.
Yes, I want to end by saying that if in case your rights are violated, please come to report to police. We have toll-free numbers. I want to share this one, which is 0800 199 195. I repeat, 0800 199 195. It is based at police headquarters in Nakuru. We have call takers who will listen to your issue and refer you to service providers effectively. I thank you.
Interesting. You can
Sauti.
Oh yes.
116,
Yes, they can report cases at Sauti. This one is being manned by police solely, the one that I gave, but the one of Sauti is under the management of Ministry of Gender, but we also have our police officers seated there. So it's 116. Kindly report these cases, whether you're a child, whether you're a man or woman. You will be listened to and offered help.
Interesting. I am glad that we didn't miss that part. When you do not come in, we bless the Lord that you've been able to come through. Parting shots, I'm starting with you, Duchi. Make it possible to way forward, and also parting shots. I'm giving you 1 minute all to give us that concluding remarks.
Thank
concerning our topic, strategies to ending gender-based violence for peaceful coexistence.
Thank you. Then, from our discussion this morning, there are things I realize that are very important. When we get married or in a relationship, we need family, which is extended family. That is, you don't pick a girl from the street, or a boy doesn't pick you. You don't pick a boy from the street and you go and make a home, such that when he beats you up, the family, you don't know where to run to. You talk to your in-laws, you talk to other people, and secondly, we need to get families. That's why culturally all these things are coming up now, but long ago they never happened, because people, before they get involved in a marriage, families would consult each other, find out the background of the other family, the girl you are doing marrying, dating. Sometimes they would even bring you a girl you have never met, and then marriage it lasts for good, because they have gotten a girl whom they trust that can keep a home. Second point, as a Christian, I would want to tell you that God is important, to honor God in your marriage. That's why God is a third person, that you honor God. You love your wife, just like we have read. You love your wife just because you know God is watching and you are accountable for the wife you have chosen and you have married. It's a covenant. And your children, the children God has blessed you, you love them, take care of them, and let them learn the good things from you. Personally, I have children. Some of them have graduated, but I don't remember a day when I slapped them or beat them. We always talk. Be available in their lives, and you will help. They will not do wrong things when they are with you. There are other means you can use to discipline them by withholding some of the things they love most, and exert your authority over them without beating or more emotionally beating them and abusing them and hurting their feelings. So that is very important.
Okay. Wembawazi?
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, UBC, for giving us this opportunity, especially as concern for the girl child. As we close this, allow me remind each one of us that empowering the girl child is not just a responsibility. It is an investment in our future. Together we can create a world where every girl has access to education, health services, and opportunity to thrive. I urge each of us, Ugandans to put our efforts together and see that we end gender-based violence. And the 16 days of activism are here come 25th to 10th December. What are you doing in your space? Each one of us has an opportunity to speak against gender-based violence. Do not despise yourself. Where in your space, in your village, in your community, you can do something. And together with Concern for the Girl Child, we can bring this GBV to an end. Stay.
These ones that we have in the studios to come through on 23rd, joining you for that very powerful marathon. We're talking about community engagement and community awareness, especially when we talk about HIV and AIDS. As we have seen, it is one of the drivers to gender-based violence. Flavia?
Thank you very much, Amon, and to my co-guests here on UBC. I want to say that I was a victim of gender-based violence, and I left. I'm alive 30 years later. So if you are in any relationship, you are in a home where you're being tortured, go and report. And if you can't report, just be there as much as you can stand. I've told my daughter and my son, just be there as much as you can stand. If you find it is getting in your head, you are getting to start having feelings of, I'll kill him, I'll kill myself, please just walk out. If you have a parent, a relative, a friend, walk there to safety. Dead bodies tell no tales, and they don't save any situation. So for me, charity begins at home, and safety and security begins with you. If that relationship, that workplace is not happening, give it to God, get out of it. If you report to police and police is not forthcoming, or you have failed to get the sureties or the testimonies or wherever it is, go back, leave that place. Finally, I want to say, if you are with HIV, you're HIV positive, please, and you are feeling stigmatized and low, we are available to talk to you. My number is 0702 60 21 38 or 772 60 21 38. Call me at any moment. People call me at 2 a.m. I've lived with HIV from 1994 when I was about 20 years. Now I'm 55. So you can live, and we still live. Come all of us who are in this studio, and everyone across the globe, and those in Uganda, come, let's run to end AIDS and ensure that we promote and protect those who are HIV positive, so that they are able to take their medications very well and stop transmitting. We shall be running in Fort Portal on the 23rd of November 2024. That is next Saturday. But there is also a tussle run in Soroti on the 23rd of November 2024. So this is now for Western, Fort Portal; for Eastern, Soroti; and for Northern, Lira, we shall have a run on the 30th of November 2024. And for Kampala, we are going to have a run, a walk on the 29th of November. This month is full of pre-World AIDS Day events, but also look up to World AIDS Day and continue to save yourself. The easiest way is to know your status. Once you are known you are HIV negative, protect yourself. If you are HIV positive, please protect yourself and protect others so that you can live longer and have safer lives. I thank you, Amon, for giving me this opportunity, but I also invite you to Fort Portal on Saturday to come and do ground zero at the run. Probably make the best of it. Thank you very much.
But also for those who would say that they may be a bit engaged and busy, they can buy a kit for those that will be there and they don't have those kits.
Yes, they can gift a kit. You can send to my number 0772 60 21 38 or 702 60 21 38, because I don't have the numbers on 772 60 21 38 702 60 21 38.
Okay, she's the
So you can gift those children in school, those sex workers you call Bamalaya. They are there because our husbands and our wives are not doing their role, but also society has pushed them out. No livelihoods, no confidence. So the only way to do is to go and sell their bodies to be able to earn a living. So let us gift someone to run towards ending AIDS by 2030. Our guest of honor will be the Uganda country coordinator, Uganda United Nations joint action against AIDS, and then the chief runner. We have our one and only coming to kick HIV out of that area. Fort Poto should be full. Come and see the goal I have had. The one who just looks at a woman and she gets pregnant. This time she's going to look at us and we run and we end AIDS together.
Interesting.
Yes, we thank you.
That is Ngwara ya Toro. Rwenzori Marathon. Interesting. All right.
Yes,
make it a point to come through and support, but also run to make sure that we end HIV. Afande, your parting shots and also your way forward and parting shots on this very important topic.
I thought I had already given my parting shots.
Okay.
But I can still re-echo this. That gender-based violence doesn't discriminate. It affects all of us the same way, whether you're educated or not, whether you have money or not, whether you're tall, short, whether you're male or female. We're all treated the same. And there is no country that has ever developed when cases of gender-based violence are so high, when it's men and women being discriminated against, when their rights are being violated. And violence leads to poverty because we spend most of the money in treating the victims, in transporting yourselves to police, to court, to other organizations like feed the services, because you're trying to look for services. So it's very important that we learn to coexist in our homes. We need to understand each other, but should your rights be violated, please run to places where you feel you can get help. It could be police, or if you do not choose to come to police, you could go to your LCs, or you go to a neighbor, or just confide in someone who you trust, who you feel that can be able to listen to you and can offer a solution. And we need to know that when one comes to police, definitely they don't wish you bad. They don't want you to be arrested and detained, but they are simply looking for a solution.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you so very much, Fandi, and all our guests, and to you, our dear listener. As we come to the end of today's discussion on UBC Ground Zero, it is very clear that gender-based violence is a deeply rooted issue that has affected not only the survivors, but our community as Uganda as a whole. And we have heard from our distinguished panelists about the need, the urgent need. We need it like yesterday for a multifaceted approach to ending gender-based violence, as our topic was suggesting, strategies to ending gender-based violence, drivers for peaceful coexistence. It is very possible for all of us to live peaceful with each other. But in case you sense some bit of quarreling and some red flags, it is very important that you walk away and walk to safety instead of causing more issues, and then you end up being violated or you violate others. Government action, law enforcement, civil society, health, faith communities and individuals, we all have a role to play when it comes to ending gender-based violence. It was a privilege having you, ladies and gentlemen. Godfrey Ducci is the team leader, Nile Missions. It was important having you on the platform. And also it was a privilege having you, Jacqueline Hope Wembabazi is the programs manager concerned for Girl Child Uganda. And it was also a privilege and honor to have you, Flavia Chomkama is the executive director of AGA and is also the team leader to that big marathon in Rwenzori taking place on 23rd November in Fort Poto. And it was a privilege having you, ACP or Assistant Commissioner of Police. Tuheri Maureen is the Commissioner, Child and Family Protection Unity or Department from Uganda Police Force. I thank you, our dear listener, and I want to thank you in a special way those who called in this program and those who sent in messages for participating in this very important program. This program is repeated on Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on UBC Radio, that is on 98.0, but also on Voice of Butebo, that is on Monday. And it is always on YouTube. You can always go there and watch it. For God and My Country, allow me now sign out on the 5 radio stations that have been tuning into UBC Radio. That is Magic 100 FM in Kampala, Voice of Butebo in Western Uganda, Western Nile region, Western Nile Radio in Arua City, and also Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda. For God and My Country, I'm Pere Amon. Allow me now sign out.
That was Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody should. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcasts of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m.